experienced. Both of these, to me, to tell you the truth, all Ignatius, I should say, I remember when my oldest son graduated from Marquette High. A friend of mine, he had a friend, his best friend, and we were good friends with him, and the mother of the other child says, well, I don't know if he believes in Jesus, but I do know he believes in Ignatius. So, so I slipped there about Jesus versus Ignatius. So, anyway, where is I going at? Both of these methods is what we do already. You know, I don't really feel like I've lived my day, or yeah, maybe I haven't really lived my day. I mean, I'll just speak this as a married man. Unless I go home at night and tell my wife, here's what happened today. You know, we all do these kinds of things, whether they're good friends or spouses or whatever. Here's what happened. Here's what I was feeling. You know, the person sort of gives us some feedback on it. That's exactly what the Examen is. And in terms of praying with the scriptures, it's a similar kind of thing. You know, if I go on a business trip and I come back, I got to tell my wife, here's what happened in that. So that's all Ignatius is doing, is taking natural, normal, everyday stuff and saying, about relationship with God, this is what you're called to do. What we're called to do with our relationship with God is to have the same kind of, use the same human ways of interacting. And God, of course, having become human, we can engage with them in the same way. So those are the two main prayer methods I thought as a way of sort of what is Ignatian spirituality. There's a lot of ways to talk about it. Very few in 15 minutes to give you the full picture, but at least to give you some sense of it. I think those are keys to the method. I don't know if we have time for questions or questions. Yes, Dustin.
What is your idea between Ignatian philosophy that God is in everywhere and pantheism?
You know, it's interesting because when St. Francis's encyclical came out, Laudato Si, right? What was one of the critiques? He's pantheistic, wasn't it? That was a critique of it. I'd say two things. One, people didn't realize that, I think, as I read that, first off, he draws upon the Book of Wisdom, which is not, is in the Catholic canon, but is not in the Protestant canon, and I could go into a whole discussion about that, but that's significant, because there you have Greek philosophy coming into the scriptural frame of reference, which I think changes how you understand how God works in the world. That's my scripture path coming on. But to your other point, I think also an element was this idea that the nature of the world is good. Now, of course, that's a fundamental Catholic principle about natural theology and what have you. So he's building on that tradition. So I think that might be also part of the issue. But clearly, Ignatius was very influenced. There was a revival of Aristotelian thought. So you're moving away from philosophy being made, the Platonic model of philosophy being the dominant one, which would have influenced Augustine more, and influenced Luther more, towards this revival of Aristotelian philosophical thought of the great chain of being. So that, instead of seeing this, right, in Platonic thought, you have the realm of above and the realm of below, and there's a separation, Aristotelian thought you have this cause and effect sort of idea and the great chain of beings are all linked together. So that's where that comes from. That's actually the basis of our natural theology as well. So the reaction, of course, it has to be properly ordered, so God's not in that chair, so that, but the Spirit of God's in that chair. If the presence of God is emanating in that chair. So that would be your line, right, between pantheism, where you're actually saying that chair is a God, versus the presence of God is emanating through these things. It's God created them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Of course, and that'd be the thing, part of discernment as you pray is making sure you properly order things and recognize, that have I put things in the proper perspective. If I make my wife my God, she'd be happy. But you know, but have I misunderstood the order of things?
Yeah,
Any other questions? Good. We're past time.
Yeah, great. Thank you very
All right.
much.
There's a quick blurb on Ignatius Virgin